I started reselling shoes to buy more shoes. I was one of the top 15 online websites, and I was like, I didn't document it. And then it just started growing so fast, and I was like, oh, I'm helping so many people. This can be a business, not just me like having fun making YouTube videos.
Tell me more about your strategies with how you're creating content. I know the DNA show is coming along. I've been watching those episodes, so tell me about it.
I think the biggest thing for me is...
Welcome back to Wealthy Creator Podcast. Have a good one today, you all. I'm excited to be here with my boy. I'm gonna let him introduce himself, but this guy, in the last year or so now, we've developed our relationship, become good friends, and I'm just excited to have him on finally in the studio with us here in Las Vegas. Let me introduce to you all DJ. What's up, bro?
What's up? Thank you.
How you feeling, man? I'm happy you're here, man. Good. I'm excited. My
name is DJ Willingham. I have been into sneakers for a really long time. I started back in like 2007, like seriously collecting shoes, and that developed a passion for just being in the culture of the community. And then I realized like, oh, I can make money off of this, built a business, and then got into real estate, which then pushed me into like social media to start helping people, which we'll talk about all this stuff. But I'm in a lot of different arenas, and I feel like I'm pretty well versed in those arenas, so I'm happy about that for it.
And no, that's awesome, dude. Like, let me just tell a little story about how we even kind of, became acquaintances. Like, truthfully, it's hard not, like, you got to be careful not to judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm from Chicago. So the Georgia sneaker has always just been a thing for me growing up, right? Like we cherished that sneaker in Chicago. Right. It is just a part of the culture. It's ingrained in the city. Mm-hmm. Right. And so for me growing up, anything with head on the back of it always carried a negative connotation.
Yeah.
So, when we called somebody a crackhead, it was negative. A dope head, it was negative. And so being called, like, because I've had people call me a sneakerhead, right? Which I'm not. I just love sneakers, right?
Nah, you're a sneakerhead, bro.
I'm not a sneakerhead, bro. Like, I've never collected. I've never, like, traded. I never sold. I've never done any of that. I love the culture of it, right? So do I love sneakers? Yes. Do I consider myself a sneakerhead? No, because I have respect for those that actually do.
Okay.
Right? But it always carried a kind of a negative connotation. And it was one day we were at the Grow with Video Live conference. And I saw you there and I recognized you from the videos. Obviously, anybody that's ingrained in the culture has seen your content, right? Let's not, I'm not going to even sugarcoat it. This dude crushes on social media, right? Like he understands what it means to kind of grow a brand, a personal brand. And he's just a big part of that sneaker culture. And so I saw you there and I was like, I think that's him. Wasn't quite sure. I'm like,
it's kind of like, it doesn't seem like I would be in a place like that, right?
Right. It's a different kind of conversation. Yeah, you just wouldn't expect that, right? If this was SneakerCon, I was like, okay, it makes sense. Yep. And then the other piece is like, you don't really realize how tall people are on, like when you're seeing them on camera, right? Because like, I'm always used to being one of the taller people in the room. Right. And I'm like, all right, that might be him. He's into sneakers. He's probably into sports. It all starts to make sense.
Yeah.
Right. And then my brother Omar came up to me. He was like, yeah, do you know DJ? I'm like, I don't know him. And he was like, yeah. But he didn't describe you through sneakers. Mm-hmm. He described you through faith. Right. And he was like, yeah, dude, he's a believer. He's a Christian. Like and that's how he described you. And so it made me want to approach and kind of start to connect and have that conversation. So I remember us talking then and we talked about some things. Right. And at the time I was kind of just getting and really started in my journey of what I do professionally. And so I had no following whatsoever. I had nothing. Right. Like I was just running around behind Ryan Pineda trying to capture some video.
Right.
And so in that moment, like I didn't have much to even offer you. I was just like, bro, it's a pleasure meeting you. We talked a little bit about sneakers.
Yeah.
And then from that point, I started to see you more often in different places. And I started to see you with other people that I knew. Right. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, yeah, like we know some of the same crowd. We in some of the same things, but I also have a respect and a trust for people that are believers of the faith. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of made me want to be connected even more. So we met up in Hollywood, did some talk. This dude gave me a pair of shoes from the store, man. Like he gifted me that pair. And so that was awesome. But in all, it's like, yeah, there's more than just meets the eye. Like you're more than just your sneakers. So
I appreciate it.
Again, that story of me being back home and talking about it, like don't judge people from just what you think, right? Like take the time to kind of get to know people. And I'm really grateful that I did. So DJ, tell me, man, like how'd you get started, dude? Like I know there's some sports in there, there's some stuff in, you're a 90s baby. So I know how that feeling too, how we come up, but tell me more about your story coming up.
So coming up, I was in a Japanese immersion program. So I learned, you didn't know that either, right?
Nah, brand new information.
I learned Japanese halfway throughout the day. and then the other half was English from kindergarten through high school. Wow. We did Japan research studies, 5th grade, 8th grade, and in high school. So I was heavily into Pokemon, all the stuff. Like the whole culture of that was a part of my lifestyle. But I also grew up in the hood in Portland. I played sports. I knew everybody in the hood.
All right, hold on.
I went to a
hold on. What's the hood in Portland?
Okay, it's not as good as your hood, but
what is the hood in Portland?
It's a little bit. No, honestly, the hood in Portland is like the hood in every other city, everywhere. You know, some is best, some is worse. But I grew up in the heart of all that stuff, and I knew everybody from that area. I played sports out there, and then I went to school in a different area in the opposite side of the city. Okay. My parents wanted me to have a different opportunity in life to do something different. My mom was actually just telling a story the other day. She was talking about when I was in pre-K, I was teaching kids division and multiplication and everything like that. In
pre-K?
Yeah. Huh. And the teacher, I was there for, I think, 3 days. And my parents kept saying, like, we want him to be pushed up. Because of my birthday and everything, it kind of had an issue because my birthday's in November. So they were trying to figure it all out. I'm there for like 3 days, and then they're like, yeah, he needs to go. Like, he's bored here. Like, it's not working. Yeah. So they're like, oh, they recommended like go to a Japanese school to challenge him, put him to the test. You know, they said it's a hard language to learn. And that's what they decided to do. And then my sister followed suit. Same thing happened. Wow. So it was all kind of unfolding there at a young age. And I was just immersed in so many different type of arenas and cultures. And then coming from white and black side, and one side of my family having a lot of money, the other side not, and knowing businesses and transitioning and passing things down and seeing, I have 5 generations in a single image, and I'm in that photo together, you know, so seeing multiple generations and like why it means things to do stuff for family and stuff. So it was just a lot of those little key things that helped me, you know, find what I wanted to do and understand like why it was so important to prepare myself for the next generation, even when I was only like 12 years old or whatever it may be.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to get into it, like, cause I want to dive deep into like the actual, like the business that you understand. Like, I do know that you have business knowledge and that you understand it. But even going back to like, you know, those beginnings, what about like the sneaker culture did you fall in love with early?
So I live in Portland, Oregon. So at the time, there wasn't as many headquarters, but Nike and Adidas was for sure there. Beaverton, Oregon, and in Portland where the Adidas headquarters is at. Yeah. So I had little sample shoes when I was a kid. When I was a size 9, my dad was getting me a lot of different samples because I was a sample size. So I was immersed in the sneaker culture my whole life. My dad didn't have anything. He wanted to make sure I had the freshest J's. All the new J's that came out from when I was born to by the time I came in high school, I had every color. Yeah. And if you think back then, there was only like 4 colorways that would come out. Right. Now there's like a ton that drop. But I had all the shoes. I used to get in trouble in kindergarten for not sitting crisscross applesauce because I didn't want my shoes to get dirty because I kept telling the teacher the carpet was dirty and they never shampoo it. And they're like, you're bougie, like all these random things. So because I was like, my dad told me like, keep your shoes clean. Yeah. Like, I'll get you some new ones. So I had play shoes and I had school shoes. And all those little things in the sneaker culture was just heavy into me growing up as a kid. And I was just like, I love this stuff. Like, I enjoyed it. I love putting on some fresh shoes. It made me feel good. Like, so it was before the whole like, you know, reselling and all that stuff, I was already like tapped in literally from a baby. Yeah.
No, dude, like I want people to know that there was a culture before what it is now.
Yes.
Right. Where everybody just enjoyed the shoe. It wasn't necessarily about resale.
Right.
And so, I can totally relate. Like, I know for me coming up, we didn't have it to get the Jordans.
Right.
Right. So when you were able to get one, it was treasured, bro. Yep. Like, it's something that you just don't forget. Right. Like, I can remember, and I remember almost every time that I was able to get them because it was so few and far between. But I even remember when the 13s were out that year and I was like, I want those. I have to have those. And I wanted them to play basketball in. Like, I didn't even, you know what I mean? I was like, I got to have those. And I remember I couldn't, mom never would say yes to it. And then I had an uncle who at the time was doing really good. And he was like, I'll take you to the mall and get them. Yeah. Think about this, right? We're going to the mall. Right. Just any random store that had them and got them. Like, it wasn't a thing where, we had to wait in line or find a resale shop. Like, you can go to a Foot Locker and get the Jordan. And then I remember looking at those shoes, and I set that box on my dresser and sat the shoes on top of it, and they sat there for like 2 weeks before I ever did, just so I can just look at them when I came in. Like, that's how much like it was kind of represented within our culture. You know what I mean? And then I could remember when you got to high school, it didn't matter like what came out, everybody would go get them. Right. And so like everybody in the whole, like anybody that could get them, everybody had them on. Like it wasn't like,
to go get
bro,
those.
you worked to get them shoes, right?
Yep.
And it's funny because like now, like my foot stopped growing in high school. And so even now when people see, like when they, you know, people see you wear different shoes, so they just like assume you got a ton of them.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, I don't have a lot. I was like, I got enough.
Yeah.
I'm like, it may feel like a lot to you, but I know other people that have like, crazy closets. And I was like, but for me, I still have shoes that I wore in high school. Mm-hmm. Right. And I just kept them up. Right. Because that's how much we cherish what it is. So when you talking about sitting crisscross and all kinds of stuff, like, yeah, that was a real thing.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You know, you cherished what you got, especially because you just care so much about, you know, the shoe. You were really into it. So that's awesome. Like you having that same experience, even though like you had a dad that went and got everything. Yeah. And I had, you know, a mom and dad that was like, look, son, like, you're going to have to earn these. Like, you're going to have to, you know, something better be good for me to get a Jordan. Like I had to have straight A's or something for me to get a Jordan. But it just meant a lot. It just meant a lot. So it's
the
awesome.
One thing that I hate though is, I don't know if I hate it, but I don't appreciate it. It's like when people come from outside of the culture and then they like, oh, you guys just care about material items or sneakers or whatever. And it's like every culture, every subgroup, whatever, they all have their little thing that like, we might be like, why are you doing that? That doesn't make any sense. So to me, I'm like, it's okay. Like if we work hard or if that's what's our motivator at a young age and it helps us like do this thing, then let it be that. Like it's a part of our culture, is what it is. Like some people are like, oh, you shouldn't do the Jordans, this. That's fine. Like if that's a part of our culture, I'm okay with that.
I mean, it's no different than the older guy from a different culture that loves his vintage cars.
Right.
Right. Like that's how I see it. Right. Like when they re-release a Jordan, I'm like, I know it's not going to be what I really wanted to. It's going to let me down in some way. Right. Because they always change something. Always. Like why Jordan brand, I don't know, but they always tweak something. But it still has the nostalgia for me because I remember what I was doing or what I was watching or what was happening around that time. Yeah. It's no different than that car, right? Yeah. Like you buy the 1970s Porsche because of the nostalgia of it, right? And the value of it, right? And so it's no different. People just have what they like. And I don't judge anybody. Like, I mean, there's sneakers that people get. I'm like, why would you ever put those on your feet? Right. But that's just how I feel. Like it doesn't mean that you shouldn't wear them, right? Like get what you like, and that's what I mean too. Like that's why I don't call myself a sneakerhead because I only own what I like.
That's the sneakerhead.
I only buy what I like, bro.
Right. Just like in real estate, right? You can do multifamily, you can do single family, you can be just a loan officer. There's so many different roles. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you're in real estate. Yeah. So to me, I'm like, you're a sneakerhead.
I got you. Like, I got you.
I feel like there's so many different angles and like I like sneakerheads that are like you more than a lot of the other type of options because it's like you care about what you got and that's what's most important.
Yeah, well, you know, like I said, in our culture, Chicago culture, like head was always like an addict. Right. So that means you're going to get whatever comes out no matter whether you like it or not, or you're just wearing it because you think everybody else, like, you know what I mean? Like it's that kind of thing. I got you. Me, I'm like, nah, if it's something that I like, I'm going to get it. I could pass on anything. I don't care how much it's worth or how much it's reselling for. So that's the only difference. Like I'm telling you, like I battled with it because I was like, man, that like, people call me that I'm like,
I'm a sneaker guy.
And I don't, right. So yeah, no, it's fun. Oh, tell me though, DJ, like you took your love for what you're doing and made it a brand, and that's the way you branded yourself. How effective has that been for you? And tell the people about your business currently, like what you've been able to accomplish.
Yeah. So I started reselling shoes to buy more shoes. So I built a business doing that. I was one of the top 15 online websites, like ranked through Complex and all the different articles back in the day. Right up there with like Flight Club and everything. Like I was doing numbers selling online. Wow. Worked with a lot of pro athletes, did a lot of cool stuff. All the private parties, the MV, you name it. Go to All-Star Weekend, you name it. All the different things. Doing this at a young age while I'm in college, even before I got to college. Consulting with the brand. I had all this stuff that happened, and I was like, I didn't document it. There wasn't a thing to do it like that. Yeah. You know, Gary Vee is like, document the process. You hear all the different things. None of that. It wasn't like that back in 2009. Like nobody cared. 2015, like it wasn't as big. Right. So when I got out of college, I was like, I want to start making videos telling these stories and show the people stuff that I know and like just have fun with it. Yeah. Did that, went to a video conference, and then I came back with a lot of information. Like, oh, this can be a business, not just me like having fun making YouTube videos.
So a conference is what like
I went to the conference. I went to Vid Summit, paid $1,000. I was not ready to do it. I bought the ticket like 2 days before the event started, last minute flights, went out there by myself, That's where I met Omar.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out there October 2019, and I was like, let's see how it goes. I'll give it 18 months, and if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I'm not going to chase the money. I'm going to chase, helping people and doing all that stuff, and I'm going to build a business around it at the same time. And I had that in mind the whole time, like, because, immediately, as soon as they find, you can make money off of social media or whatever, everybody's focused on that, and then that's how you build the wrong brand, and then you got the wrong thing going on.
Absolutely.
So I was focused on just growing and helping the audience. So I've just pounded out like a year worth of tutorial type videos. How to do this, how to do that. Like you said, all the simple things, I do those videos. And then it just started growing so fast. And I was like, I'm helping so many people. Then I started going to sneaker cons, and I realized like, I'm running into hundreds of people at these events that want to take photos with me, and they're thanking me. The first thing they say is, thank you for this, thank you for that. I'm like, I'm seeing the purpose behind this content now.
Yeah.
Now I'm even more motivated behind this. I'm helping the audience in the right way. So it was kind of a trickle effect of all those things. But yeah, I've started building the business, started building a course, started building all this stuff out. And yeah, we can go into the depths of all those things. But
yeah, before we go though, I want to say this too, because I want people listening, I want especially creators or individuals that are looking to grow and influence, understand that in most cases, those individuals that find influence don't ask for it. They're just looking to help as many people as they can.
Right.
Like I'm seeing it for my own branding. I'm seeing it in Ryan's branding, right? Like with intention is like, I'm going to try to help people, right? That was the intent behind it. But what came with that was the influence, right? And you talk about like people coming up to you, people like I had it happen for me the first few times recently. And I was like, bro, like, okay, I'll sign the book. It ain't worth 2 cents, but I'll sign it, right? Like, but it for them though, watching their response to it and go, okay, now you have a responsibility. People are listening, right? And you almost owe it to them to give them a product that they can take and do something applicable right away and go accomplish something, right? And so like, I want people to know that, like, and really trust that, right? If you're at home right now and you're making content, you're trying to figure out how to get past those 25 views, take your focus off yourself and focus on who you're helping, who the audience is, right? Like we always say, change the name algorithm for audience and you'll see a difference in how you approach, right? Because it's important to understand that even though those were only 24 views, those were still 24 people, right? And you can help 24 people. You fill a room up like this with 24 people, it's going to feel good if you know that you're helping them. And then those numbers continue to increase. So I just wanted to point that out because you led with the right intention on how you decided to kind of grow, and then you can start creating that business around it. That then, because I know too, like people get hung up on, are you really trying to help if you're making money on it and all that kind of, those kind of sentiments, which is just really a pessimistic attitude about it. But the realness of it is that the support of the people is what allows you to help more. Right. Somebody's got to fund this, right? Like I can't do it all and give it all away, right? Some of it has to be funded by the supporters. And that's where you see the growth, right? Like, I mean, that was 2019 for you. It was about the same for Ryan, right? Where he started to see that influence.
That's funny because I had saw his channel, I think, like around the end of 2020. And I was like, we're like on the same growth trajectory. Like, this is interesting. But what I didn't do, and also my market isn't nearly the same, which you got to understand, you can't compare yourself to other people and then forget that they're in different markets, which means they have different upsides or whatever, or you don't know what they're doing behind the scenes. So there's a lot of other factors.
Yeah, for sure.
So people put themselves down for those type of things. But I was just looking at it from like, okay, it's dope to have like some type of measurable metrics of like, okay, this is the type of growth. Give me like, they're having success, I'm having success. I do it this way, they do it that way. We're seeing the same type of numbers. And sometimes people can use that as like competitive, whatever. But I like it as just a nice little check-in type thing. Yeah. I mean, and it should be competitive, right? Like I don't shy away from that, right? Like I'm paying attention to what everybody's doing, right? Because I it's something that you may be doing that may work for us. That I'm like, okay, this will benefit everyone. Like we both can win off of this. And then there's some things that you may be doing, and I'm like, that might work over there. It's probably not going to work here. And when you talk about comparing people's like growth, it's difficult, right? So like I was explaining this to somebody at the conference last week. They were asking me about like the room, right? Because we do conference, like Ryan speaks at conferences all the time. So like this past couple months, I've been out of town almost every other weekend. Right.
But I've learned in looking at these rooms, some of them are valued higher than others.
Right.
Right. And so it just depends on what you're training your audience to do. Right. So for example, the sneakerhead who makes content but doesn't actually have an offer for his audience,
right,
has trained his audience now to never buy anything from him. Right. And we talked about this in Hollywood. Yep. It's like, no, the audience needs to be trained to support you. Mm-hmm. That comes with call to actions. That comes with actually having a product or an offer to offer them, and then really giving out enough value to make them trust you. Mm-hmm. Right. I talk know, like, and trust all the time. Right. They gotta know you. They gotta like you. They gotta trust you. And so you're building on that, right, as you're doing those things. But then I go to some events and I'm like, wait, they didn't pitch anything.
Right.
Right. So you spent $1 million on this event and you didn't make anything. Like you're not offering, like you're even doing the audience a disservice because you didn't offer them how they can get to where you're at.
Right.
Right. And so it's like, yeah. So, again, like you spoke of it, like having, an ability to kind of captivate an audience to get them to support you. It takes some skill and some strategy behind it. Right. Yeah. Tell me more about your strategies with how you're creating content. I know the DNA show is coming along. I've been watching those episodes. So tell me about it.
I think the biggest thing for me is really knowing I'm being true to myself when I make these videos.
That's good.
Because a lot of people, again, you can chase like the thing that works or all this stuff. There's a ton of videos I could create that go get a lot of views. Mm-hmm. That does the right thing. That's like, oh, I'm going to grow. But is it the right, like my mom, my dad, my grandma, they always say, all money ain't good money, mm-hmm. right? So like you bring their all views ain't good views. All, you can convert it to whatever you want to convert it to. So for me, I'm like, okay, let's be more strategic about the audience, because I actually started to do that last year. Was that last year? Yeah, I say last year. I kind of started to lose my way a little bit. Mm-hmm. I started making videos. I was like, let's try this. Let's do that. Let's go over here. Let's do. And like, yes, you should be testing. But at the same time, I was doing too much testing and I'm like losing my way. And so I'm like, let me retrack and get back on that. So when they can truly see that, people think that, oh yeah, the topic's good, whatever. But if it doesn't resonate with your audience and they don't see that like what you're talking about or you're really passionate about this thing, it's hard for them to get to the next step of like believing in buying something from you or supporting you in some type of way. No, when they're like, you kind of like halfway believe in what you're talking about. Like, why would I full believe in what you're talking about?
Yeah.
So I think it just really comes into that first. Like you'll see it in the comment sections. Like, you care so much about this, or like, you're so passionate about this thing. Like, that's what you want to see in the comment section.
Yeah, no, I think when you're trying to reach for engagement or views, you lose conviction in what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're referring to. Like, I need to speak with conviction on what I believe in order for you to believe it. Mm-hmm. If I'm excited about something, I need to show that I'm excited, right? Like we get clients at Pineda Media all the time, and conversations that I have with them is they're trying to figure out how they should present. And I was like, well, one, you should present the way you would present normally in person, mm-hmm. right? Look at it like you're meeting the individual that's on the other side of that camera for the first time. And then tell yourself, all right, if I'm trying to convince them that what I have is good, how do I do that? Mm-hmm. I don't do that by being monotone and talking directly into the microphone and the camera and not giving any energy off.
Right.
Or for the individual that's too cool to make the content, because it does feel weird looking into a lens that nobody's at, right? Like it's awkward, right? Yeah. We know that. But that individual that's just really cool about it, like you're not capturing anybody's attention. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about billions of people on these platforms. And so to do that, you really need to buy into what it is that you're trying to present and really speak with that conviction, right? Like I truly believe that the strategies that we're using works. Mm-hmm. And I think that anybody can use these strategies and eventually it will work for them. Mm-hmm. So I really believe it when I say it. Like you're going to feel it when I say it, right? And so it's the same thing. Tell me, after having that experience of maybe not necessarily doing what it is you felt good about, but actually trying to reach, tell me how you got out of that. Like what helped you make that transition back into doing what you know you loved?
The biggest thing that helped me transition out of making videos for everybody else and not myself or my true audience was just literally taking some time off, realizing like, I'm trying to increase output and do all these things and like, oh, I got to do this. Like, it's okay to step back. Yeah. If you got the good audience that you're building, like those people are still going to rock with you. If you take, like, say, for example, I'm uploading 2 to 3 times a week. Well, I'm once a week. Oh, I missed a couple weeks. Well, I'm going to just go take a vacation, go to Hawaii or something, reset. I'm not touching no computer, no phone, no nothing. We're just going to chill out. We're going to get our mind right and come back. So for me, it's typically through like vacations or spending time with my family and just really realizing like, this is, again, back what I'm doing all this for. Like, why am I building all this stuff up? Yeah, I want to be able to look at these videos when I'm older and show these with my grandkids or whatever. That's great. Yeah. Because I think that's dope too. But at the same time, I'm like, who am I doing it for? What am I doing this for? Like, yeah, I'm doing it for my audience, but my family is what I'm really doing for. Am I making my parents proud? Make my mom proud, my dad proud, my wife proud? That's what I be thinking about a lot too. So when I get back to that and I'm like, would they want to see me doing this? Because sometimes you can easily, again, make the content and bashing somebody to get the views or whatever. And it's like, that's not the wave. Like, you know, you're not a creator that does that. So why are you doing it?
All right.
So that was my biggest thing, is just really reaching back to family and taking some time off, reset, go through analytics, look at the videos that are popping, go back, look a year or two ago, say, okay, what was hitting then? How can we recreate this? Can we make a better version? Is it time to recycle that type of video? Because sometimes, you know how it goes. The video was popping 2 years ago, and it's like, we can make a better version of this same video, switch the title a little bit. We're better at thumbnails now. And because of that, we made the new version. The other one got 250,000 views. Now we already had 700,000 views in 3 months, and it took, 2 years to get to that point.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's true. That is what strategy is, right? Like figuring out what's working and how you can double down on it. I mean, we do it all the time. Like, you can go through Ryan Pineda's channel right now and see how I did this in 2020, how I did this in 2021, how I did this. And it's just an updated version of that video. Right. And you can even get as creative as just changing the titles if you know how to make a video that's not timestamped. Right. So like there are creative ways. We're going as far now as doing mashups of videos. Right. And this is a strategy for anybody that's listening that has content already out, but trying to figure out how to put out more. One thing we do is on a Sunday, you'll see that we do a 3-hour long video, a mashup of a topic in real estate that he's already talked about. So like, we'll go through and pull all of the wholesale topics, anything about wholesaling, and we'll mash it up, whether it's a home tour, a podcast, we don't care. Right. We just want to stretch that topic out as long as we can, because we do know that those platforms are rewarding the longer form. But what that does in turn is allow us to create content without any more work from him or for yourself, for the talent, right? Like, you don't have to do it. And so it's just creative ways of using these strategies to be able to do it. But it's all remaking the same video. I mean, truthfully, how much can you talk about the same topic without kind of regurgitating and doing some of the same things? So just updating.
And I think we're both in the phase of like becoming in the game for a while. Like, we're kind of vets, but really like we're not. Like, so it's been 3-4 years. Like, you're not a vet in the NFL until you got your 4th year and you're on the next contract and all that stuff, right? Like, we're just that senior in high school or college or whatever. Like, we're just getting to that point where it's like, we got the game, but like, we're really about to level it up these next 3-4 years, and who knows what's going to happen. All them YouTubers that was doing it 10 years ago, they're in the position now. Like, when we go to these conferences, we talk to them, they went through this phase. So we got to ask those type of questions and then understand like, yeah, we don't know it all. We need to still learn all those different things. But it's interesting because for us in our position, it can easily go the other way and say, hey, I'm tired of this, bro. We're just making the same thing year over year. Like, what's going on? So you're trying to put your twist on it, but you're like, am I going to be doing this for the next 7 years? Like, what's going on? You know,
what's next?
You can't foresee that yet. And you only got that vision of like, I know how to recreate what's working. We're growing. This is helping. It's hitting all the boxes, but maybe it's not hitting my creative box. How do I fix that a little bit? So at least that's kind of where I'm at. Like, you see the classic, like, credit cards for 2023, credit cards for 2024, credit cards for 2025. Like, so yeah, it works. It's good. But like, it does get easy to rinse and repeat. It kind of gets boring when you're creating it.
And usually what happens is the creator burns out. It's like that. I can't do this anymore. Right. Like, I'm tired of doing the same thing, and I'm getting known for the same things. Right. Like, I'm not innovating, and it's important just to continue to innovate, continue to grow wherever space you're in. Like, it doesn't even matter what space you're in, but I'm watching some creators. So like, you know how it was 2020, 2021, people had amazing years on these platforms.
Everybody.
Right. Like, they were crushing. It was no different than the real estate market. Everybody was making money. Right. And now I'm seeing that now some of that AdSense has died down, and some of these creators are really struggling to innovate and figure out what's next. Part of it is that they didn't really set up their business to be withstanding any type of market. But the other part is they've been doing the same thing for 3 years and don't know where to go next. And so that's a lesson, not only to us, but to everybody who is in that creative space. Like, be sure that you're doing something that's going to benefit the business, not just your personal.
Right.
Right. Because the business is what backs it all. Right. Like, if Ryan decides to quit today, God forbid, he's going to be okay with his business. Right. Like, the business will still exist, and what he's doing in real estate will still make him a lot of money. And it's no different than what you're doing. The way you're setting yourself up is like, okay, if I make a shift towards this, I got the business to back it. And so it's important for people to kind of recognize that and understand what it is that they're doing. But you're 1000% right about the rinse and repeat, bro. Like, you're like, all right, man, how many of these videos on how the market is crashing can we make? Yeah. Right. And then how do we innovate it? Right. It got to the point where we was like, all right, we don't care if the market's crashing. This is what you should do. Right. All right. Like, it didn't matter. Right. It don't matter what the market says. Like, this is what you should do. And it continues to kind of evolve from there. One thing that we decided to double down on was podcasting, for one, because that never gets old.
Longer form too.
Long form, bro. Yeah. Like, long form, right? I told you that in Hollywood. I was like, look, dude, go all in on it. Get a podcast out there. One, you can create the shorts from the podcast very easily. And then that goes it pairs well with your organic. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You keep eyeballs, right? Yeah. Like, that's the game. Yeah. It's just trying to stay in people's face. But it also allows you to, with minimal effort, create those. Right. And then all your organic stuff that you do outside of that fits perfectly and meshes well with that because it's all on branding. But one thing about the long form that we, and this is what we teach all our students too, is like, it forces you to be yourself. It's hard to fake it for an hour long or 2 hour long podcast on being somebody that you're not. And truthfully, it reads through on video if you do that. All right. And so I'm always trying to be sure to talk about the things that I know. I don't talk about stuff that I don't know about. Right. Like, if it's something I don't know, I'm like, I'm just move past it, or I'm going to be like, tell me more about that. Exactly. I don't know. But it's good to talk about what you know. And then it offers me an opportunity to learn from the individual that I'm sitting across from. And I've seen it nonstop, like relationship after relationship be built through podcasting now. And so there's a lot of power in what you're doing. So like, when you decide to do yours and release yours, I got excited for you, because I'm like, yeah, like now, because truthfully, man, like, you got a couple of they're calling them shows, but they're podcasts. All right. I know Complex has theirs. Like, there's these shows that are for the people that enjoy anything within the sneaker community or the culture. But it was like, I want somebody that's not kind of like hung, like, they still holding, the paywall is over their head, right? Like, there's only certain stuff that they can talk about. Only certain people that they can get on, right? They're still being controlled by a bigger machine. I was like, finally somebody that's going to kind of talk about, the realness of, and really share the sentiment for the culture that is more relatable to more people than not, right? And then some of these other shows.
I'm so excited about the podcast, because it's also, I don't know if I wouldn't say the word to like flex my network, but show people that like, I've been in the game. Yeah. So when I have these hour-long conversations with these people that's doing stuff, it's going to create more credibility for me when I'm sitting next to the VP of Jordan Brand, or the designer who did all of Nike basketball for the 90s and made the most iconic sneakers, or so-and-so who works with Serena Williams for the past 20 years. Like, all these different things. Yeah. I'm like, I've been with these people. I used to help consult with them back in the day. And I'm excited to be able to share that. And the stories and the back end stuff that like the commercial side won't talk about. They're not going to say it. Which is another thing I want to ask you. Because I feel like people don't talk about it that often. How do you guys feel about ad placement within videos?
Organic or like
YouTube ad, like when you add the ads.
Okay. So here's what I'll say. A good video, it doesn't matter what you do to it. Okay. Doesn't matter. You could put as many ads in it as you want to. People,
because I'm every 2 minutes.
We every 4.
Okay. Right. But, I guess it depends on the type of content too.
Type of content.
So if it's a long form. Yeah. You said every 4.
We're doing every 4.
I've been going every 5 for like podcasts or like a 30-minute video. So now I'm gonna go every 4.
Go every 4. Yeah.
That'll give me a couple more ads. Yeah. But I also double stack within that same ad. Okay. So if you put it at the 2-minute mark and then you put it 2 minutes and a tenth of a second, so you know how you get a double roll back to back. Yep. You'll double your RPM and CPM.
I hope y'all listening. Because this is real game.
My CPM in sneakers went to $38.
See? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little hacks.
I tried it the past couple months and it's really working. So now I do it for everything. But from 5 minutes now I'm going to 4 minutes. Go to 4. I appreciate it.
Go to 4, bro. Like, yeah, like, I mean, again, a good video, people are going to wait for. Right. Or people are going to click. Even if they skip it, doesn't matter. people are going to stay for your video, right? Like I always say, like that first 30 to 60 seconds is most important, right? How does it come on? Like, what does your trailer look like, right? Like anybody that watches Ryan Pineda's content sees we work on them trailers, right? Like those are a few revisions in it here and there on those trailers because we want you to feel hunger for the rest of the video. And we extended ours beyond an hour. We try to go at least hour and a half, 2 hours now. And so to get people to stay that long, you know, people busy, right? And so you're either waking up and going to work with us on, or you're in the gym with us on. Like these are people that like you're doing it and something else usually. You're not just tuned straight in and sitting down like television anymore. And so in knowing that, I know you'll wait for an ad to run, right? Like, and then it's just important to know, like you can't shy away from what the game is, right? Like you got to play the game by whatever rules apply. Right. And so that's in it, right? Ads are in it. Like
turn the TV on and watch cable.
Dude. And we incorporate our own organic ones too, like within the video. And so like you might get, you know, 10 ads within that 2 hours, but at the very least, you know, it does help improve. And again, you're talking about that AdSense, you still want to bring some of that in, hopefully can offset some of the cost of creating. For sure. But yeah, man, like I don't see a problem with it. I don't think people should shy away from it. That is, you know, that's the name of the game. Television has been doing it since the beginning, right? Like their whole networks are ran on what they can get in ad money.
Well, that's the thing I tell people too. I'm like, just because you're putting so many ads, right? They're but like the little bumper ads and all that stuff. It doesn't even stop the video all the time.
Nope.
So it's like the ad could still run. It's at the bottom of the screen on the phone or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't think that it's like interrupting the video.
No. Sometimes
it just might pop up and it keep rolling. And that's where you're like, oh, that little double stack is what really helps. So for me, that's what I was wondering, because I'm trying to refine like the timing and all the different things, because I've been asking the same thing everybody asks, and it's slowly been getting me to this final result. So I appreciate it. Yeah,
nah, dude. Every 4 minutes, man, we get to it. People, I think too, when you get enough episodes out, the cadence of it is there. Right? People know it's coming. All right, like, you know, all right, here it comes. Right, bathroom break, come right back. I'm back to it if it cuts out. Right, it's those type of things. Right, there's a cadence to it once you get used to it. I know even for me, it's funny. Like talking every 4 minutes in basketball, you train that way. Right. College, we trained every 4 minutes because we knew there was a TV timeout coming out. So even in preseason, we would sprint, jog, jog 4 minutes straight, walk. Right? Because we know we got, and it's just rest and recovery. It's no different, right? Like we're doing the same thing. There's a cadence to what we're doing. And so the listener, again, you're training your audience to know what to expect from you. And it works, bro. Like dope. Be motivated for that, dude. Cause that can be huge, and finding those little tips and tricks to increase everything. Cause you know, the way I see it, man, like if I gotta watch an ad to get you to do a giveaway, I'm doing that. Right? Because what you receive on the back end from the AdSense and all the sponsorships and all those type of things, that allows you to do giveaways and bless other people and have opportunities.
That's what I love to do.
And so, yeah, dude, I'm tapped in. So I know how it goes. And I really do. I respect it. Because for me, when I was younger, if I was confident enough to do what you're doing, I probably would have tried to take that path. Yeah. Right. I just didn't have the confidence to get on camera and show everything and do everything right that you're doing. Nor did I have all the knowledge that I have now to be able to do it. But it is really clear to me, like, how valuable it is to the community. Right. Absolutely.
Tell me about your first time getting on camera, like, with this crew. Because, you know, they always say, like, preparation breeds confidence, all the different things. Yeah. But I'm sure you was like, I came a long way.
Yeah. No. So it's funny with me getting on camera. I never had a nervousness for being in front of people because of sports, right? Like you played in front of crowds. Yeah. I mean, our high school games sometimes was packed like, you know what I mean? So like, I never had the fear of being in front of people, right? Like, and you know how it goes. You know how you in the tunnel and that nervous feeling right before you run out, and then you run out, it's gone. Yep. That's what I still feel today. Okay. Right. So like, getting on camera with this crew first, I can honestly say like the first few times it was just me and my boy Sion playing around with it, trying to see what we can create. It was garbage, right? Like terrible videos, terrible concepts. We were doing the whole, here's 3 tips to do that. Like we were doing that whole thing. Okay. And it never felt authentic. And then when it came to podcasting, we tested out a Send Deposit podcast. And that's where it felt more comfortable because it just allowed for me to kind of just talk and we chat and it's just you and I. and really learning how to podcast well, which I'm still going through. I'm still experiencing.
Yeah.
Right. And so my first time going at the podcast was with a guest that I didn't even really know much information about, but they were coming to do a podcast with Ryan. They was like, oh, they'll be good for the Wealthy Creator podcast. I'm like, all right, I'll sit down with them. Like, again, no fear. And I truly, my mindset is always that I care about my family more than I fear anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so if this means that this is going to improve my family's life, then I'm going to go after it. Yeah. Like that's just how I feel about it. Like, I'm not afraid of anything if I know they'll benefit from it. And I knew having a personal brand, and Ryan has always expressed this, right? Like, he doesn't always want to have to be the one to promote everything and do everything and make all the content. Like, he wants to see faces of his company grow brands.
Yeah. Build those characters.
Yeah. And so I knew that, and I knew I had to step into it. And so getting in front, I really just locked in on what the individual was saying to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it made for a really good conversation. I had read somewhere that like part of podcasting is just active listening.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll just continue to follow up and share my half and then get a follow up to whatever they were saying.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just an interview. It wasn't just ask and tell, right? Let me tell you about me. You tell me about you. And then we can find a common place to really communicate that rolls over well for, the camera. And then the second piece of advice I had got from another podcaster, he said, just make sure that whatever you're asking is stuff that your audience wants to know, right? It's your duty to draw out from your guests whatever that audience would want to know about them, as well as sharing your side of the story. And so I was like, okay, now I need to make sure that, because me and you could sit here, we could talk sneakers all day.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but I know my audience. Right. Like, but I know like my audience doesn't want to just hear sneakers. Like, they really want to know from the concepts of content side of things. And so that's where, I kind of learned that. So it doesn't matter who sits down with me anymore. If you create content, I know where I can find, and have good questions for you. But man, it was nerve wracking, bro. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I hated it because, one, you're self-conscious about something, no matter who you are. It doesn't matter, right? You have to get to a place to where you don't care. Right. And that takes some time. That takes some development. And then I told myself, it don't matter. I'm not even going to look at it when it come out anyway.
Okay.
And then I stopped caring.
So for me, it took about 2.5 years before my family commented, like, you just unlocked yourself. Like, you're in there. Awesome. Like, no matter all that charisma and everything that people saw on camera, they were like, you still haven't unlocked you yet.
Like, because I know you. Yeah. I know who you are.
Their feedback, way compared, like, the comment section, grain of salt. I don't care. You're talking mess, you get blocked. I call it a block party all the time because I don't want to read your comment again in the next video. Right. Like, I'd rather waste 3 seconds on somebody that I don't want to waste 3 seconds. I want to spend 3 seconds on somebody reading their comment that needs the help. So I just block everybody that be talking mess. But when my family said that, and I realized it too, I was like, oh, it's been a couple years. It took me a couple years on camera to really unlock that, be comfortable. And now it's like, oh, you're a natural, all that stuff. It's like, natural. All right. Like,
You know what changes too? Like, for me, I think mine is accelerating because I'm having the opportunity to get on stage. And video I can manipulate. Right. I can go back. Like, if I stuttered it right now, I'm going to go back and cut it. And we're going to fix it, right? I'll just say it again in a moment and we'll fix it later, right? So I can manipulate that. But on stage, like, I gained a respect for comedians. I gained, like, anybody that gets up there, I got a crazy respect for, because you have to fill the room, right? Which means that if you're not being yourself, if you haven't found who you are, it's really difficult up there. Yeah. All right. So the first time that I got on stage, Ryan told me like 2 days before that I was going to do it. And it was just here in office. Yeah, he's sick like that, bro. Like, he'll do that, just to measure up. Like, are you really in it, or are you playing with it, right? And so, like, you got to show them. You got to prove, like, to people, like, yeah, no, I'm for real about this. Like, I really want to grow in the space. I want to earn it, but I want to grow. It was here in office, 200 people. Right. It was a MVP day, and I was like, Ryan, what do you want me to talk about? He was like, content. I was like, man, that's tough, bro. Like, you ain't giving me nothing to work with here. Like, because, you expected him to break down exactly. Nah,
what part of it?
I
don't know.
He was like, yeah. So I made some slides, and I was like, all right. And then it made me go study other people. Right. I was like, all right, so I gotta learn this. I gotta learn this art. This is another art to kind of add to the belt. But filling out the room was not an experience for me. So I don't know. Everybody said I did good. I wasn't sure about it. I was like, all right, if they're saying it, maybe. But then I did go watch that footage back to critique myself.
Yeah.
The second time around now, I've been in enough rooms and conferences now to where I can pay closer attention and understand that there is a cadence to it, and it's also their strategy behind how they speak, right? That
how
push and pull,
stage, all the stuff,
all that, the push and pull, the eye contact, the asking for engagement, all those different things that you add that do apply to video as well, right? So I was like, raise your hand if you have a podcast,
right?
Ty, raise your hand if you've made money on your content and you monetize your content, right? All those things that to engage. Now raise your hand if you want to learn how to really level it up, right? That's all stuff that you would say in a video if you were trying to get people to engage with you, and like, it's no different. Yeah. It's just different in the room. And so I know like my path is being accelerated. One, because I got a great mentor who's like I get to see him do it all the time, but also because that them lights on that stage is just different. Like you have to feel that room. And so camera, you got nobody there. You could just put it out and hope that the comment section looks out for you. On that stage, you got to know. So if you can rock 1,000 people in front of, as straight for a half hour, a video should be nothing. Right? A video should be very easy. But yeah, I've
been kind of like, cause I want to do that more often. There's also a cap to it, right? Like you can only go to so many shows in a year. Like you can't like, unless you got something on the back end, like it's really kind of not.
It's gotta have,
right. So, but I've been just pulling up to like grade schools, middle schools, and I'm about to do high schools this year. But last year I was just pulling up, setting up a presentation, talking to teachers I had known, or like friends, or I was a counselor or whatever through family ties or something. Like I want to talk to one of the classes, and they'd be like, "Oh, this is great!" Like I want to teach them about social media, branding yourself, and building an audience, and how you can monetize your life before you become 18. So I just go, and the reason why I like it there is because it's like the ultimate test. You got these little kids that's
attention span short.
They don't care, half do. They doing random stuff, talking in the back. You trying to keep it cool. Like, I'm like, this is the best place for me to test myself. So I just put myself in the fire. And I've been doing it, and like, okay, now I'm gonna go to high school. That's my next one for this school year.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm trying to do the same thing because I want to start getting on the stage more often too.
Yeah, man. And you got the skill already, right? Like, again, because one, you have conviction in what you're talking about. But also because you have like years of the experience for real. Yeah. You're not up there talking about something that you learned last year. Right. Right.
Trying to cram for it. Remember what you said?
Yeah. No, like this is something that you've had years of experience in. And so I think you'll do great on that stage. Again, it's reps.
That's it.
That's really all it is. It's no different. And even speaking to the cap. So like we just past weekend Friday, we were in Dallas for a conference. And it was interesting because we flew private there and came back that same night, which I was like, oh, this private life is different. Like this it's a time machine. Yeah. Right. Like I'm home to eat dinner with the family as long as everything goes right. Yeah. So I was like, I can get with this, especially with the traveling. But we had the opportunity to talk with Gary Vee. And so Ryan spent about 20 minutes with Gary, which usually never happens. And because we've been in the same rooms and places as him, but he's usually in and out the way he moves. And so we were talking just about like that type of life where he speaks every weekend somewhere, right? Granted, his ticket is reasonable, right? Like you can go make $1 million in a weekend. I'm going to do that too. Right. But like you said, there's a cap to how many times you can do that. But what I learned from him though, is that he never pitched anything, right? He fully sold you on how like his authority is in the space. Right. And being on stage confirms all of that. Right. Because I'm gonna present with you. I don't have slides. I don't have anything. I'm just gonna give you all the game I got.
I like that style.
Yeah. Like it's no prep. Like I'm coming to give you the game. Yeah. You know what I mean? And by the end of this, you're gonna believe everything that I'm saying so much that you're gonna want to work with me, or you're gonna want to learn more from me. Right. And that's
wild. I just thought about that. When I saw him, I've seen him a couple of times speak, and I'm like, he never has like the QR code or something.
It's one slide. It's one slide. It's the very thing. It's the very thing that goes up once he says thank you. Yeah. It pops up and it just shows all his companies. Yep. All right. That's it. Like, and if it's a QR code, it's just to his website. Yep. Right. There's nothing like he's not
download this thing, give me your email.
Nope. But that's authority. Right. And that's what everybody truly wants. Right. People say they want the influence, but I know a lot of influencers that can't sell a t-shirt or can't make a dime on their content because it's entertainment. You really want, as a business owner and an entrepreneur, you want the authority. You want to be the one that people go to for answers or the product that will help their business. And he's mastered that. All right. content is key has always been his push on everything, right? Trading time or something like he understands it, right? And so watching Ryan masterfully ask him questions, right? Like Ryan goes, hey man, what are you thinking about events now that, the world's back open up, people are right? Like those are key questions to be asking someone like him, right? Because it's what he does, it's what he understands. And so in that, I was like, okay, this is how you accelerate what it is that you're trying to do. Get in these rooms, ask these questions, and really push at what it is that you're trying to do. So I was like, man, this is like those moments. I was like, yeah, this is the point of going and trying to speak on stages and trying to be in these rooms and these networks, because forget the fact that I get to get in front of 1,000 people plus, or, the Utah Limitless event was 8,000, right? Forget the fact that I get to be in front of all these people and share my branding with everyone. I get to go backstage and talk to DJ.
That's where it's at.
I get to go backstage and talk to, right? And so, it's more powerful than most know. And then it's even powerful for the people in the room, right? That networking in the room. Like you come to a wealth con and the room is made up of investors, right? A lot of high net worth people in there, right? MVP Day, Ryan always asks, how many people make 7 figures in their business? And almost half the room. Right. So you need to get in those rooms, right? You need to be networking no matter what it is you're trying to do.
I like that.
Switching gears a little bit though, let's talk about the real estate side of things for you. Some people listening and some people that have been fans of DNA show probably don't even know that you have that other channel over there that talks about, and teaches real estate. So tell me a little bit about that.
My problem is you can distribute your energy and then you can't be good at like one thing really well, and it's hard. And if you're not building a team out and creating time and all that, it's hard to do. So for that, I haven't been making as many videos, and I've just been trying to make the videos that are like, okay, what video works for teaching people as much as I can in this video? And I'll just put like once out a month or something. So I'm like really impactful, really helpful. You could take a lot of notes. It's super dense. Like I'm gonna just put a lot of effort into that one video, and it's, really valuable. So I help people with the real estate stuff. And then I just, sometimes if I'm in the middle of a project, I'll just like vlog style, just like the journey. Today we're going to look for carpet and we got to do this. This is the type of pad you need, this, and I'll just like break it down and just like share more of like introducing the characters, like us going out to grab lunch and like what it's really like in the day in the life of doing these type of things. Because I started to do it on Snapchat before I had YouTube, before I had all this stuff. I used to be going crazy on Snapchat. Like back in the day, views used to be up. It was wild. So I used to get on Snapchat and just like be recording all day on my first flip I ever did. Cause I used to record every day, like when I was training for football and everything. So I record everything and people were just following along. I'd see them on the streets and they'd be like, yo, like, how's the flip going? You and your dad are doing this. I love it. Like father, son time. Like, so it was just all of that. And that's why I was like, I need to make a real estate channel. And it accidentally came about. It was a random channel. It was like a burner channel. Oh, wow. I posted a video and I went to a WWE wrestling and it was like Ronda Rousey. She came to Portland. She wrestled. Bro, it was her last match before she had like got pregnant. The video goes viral. It gets like 5 million views.
That's crazy.
I'm like, this channel had like 40 subscribers. Now it's got like 20,000. I'm like, what do I do? So I got the wrong audience. But I'm like, I'm turning into a real estate. It's monetized. We're about to do this. So that's kind of how it came about. And I was like, it gave me the kickstart to just like go and do it. And then after that, I was like, oh, I'm helping people with these videos. But I really want to put more effort into it. I think with my podcast, though, that'll kind of help integrating more people, getting that kind of style into the main channel. It's just hard to manage both. Have you thought of adding another character outside of yourself? That's the question I was going to ask you earlier. My dad is the next character. I have the episode where we do the monthly updates. We talk for about 30 minutes. We go through all the shoes that are coming out this month. We give our opinions. People love it. We go back and forth. I like something he doesn't. Like, I've seen it on Instagram. It's very organic. It's natural. Like we just be having fun. It's a great time for me to spend some time with my dad. Obviously I see him more than once a month, but just sit down for 30, 40 minutes and just talk shoes. It's fun. So like your dad worked with you on the house flips too, right? Like so could you see him being the leading character of that channel maybe? I guess what I'm trying to get at too is like, there's a lot of value in that, especially for even within like the crossover between the two communities. Right. Like I remember I told you in Hollywood, I was like, dude,
you should be getting ready to throw your own conference, right?
Yeah.
Like this is a community.
I know you got me still thinking about it. Bro.
That you could build on. Allow all these resellers. Like at some point, you got to get out of the sneaker game. Like there's a cap to that as well, right? You got to get out of just reselling sneakers. If you can flip a sneaker, you can flip a house. You just got to know what to do and how to do it. And I was like, that will so be your audience. Like you will own that space to teach people what to do with their money and how to do it, you know, with what they profit on those sneakers. And so we talked about it in Hollywood and you know, for a little while, but yeah, like I can see like even your dad playing that character so that channel does get a lot of traction and a lot of views.
My hardest part is we are great on camera together, but if I'm like, cause I'm trying to help him build his TikTok and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he's got a couple thousand subscribers like on YouTube and stuff because of like the carryover from my channel and everything. But the problem is if I'm like, hey, say these things, I'm gonna record you, he'd be like, yeah, so I'm like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, I'm like, where did it just all went out the window? But like when me and him was on camera, you wouldn't even know the camera was around.
Right.
So I'm like, that is an issue for me because now it takes my time to go.
It's more time.
Gotta go manage it, gotta be there when he's filming. I can't just be like, hey, this is the series we want to do. Go knock it out. I'll take care of the editing on the back end. We'll get that covered, like, and then we'll split ad rev and all that stuff. Yeah. And whatever we decide from it. But it's hard because of that.
Yeah. No,
like,
I get it.
And I'm like, it takes the reps, but I'm like, it's gonna be some bad reps for a good representation and the thing that people already know. So it's not like he's just starting. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's where I'm in like this weird space of like, I want to build new characters. I want to create new lanes and diversify the channel. But I'm like, I don't know how to say it correctly. I'm sure he's probably going to be watching or listening to this on the replay. So Pops, I love you. But I want to be able to, I'm going to have the conversation with him before this episode goes on.
Let him know.
But yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out is just how to present it to him. Like, hey man, you got to step it up. Like you got to bring that energy. Like be you.
For sure. Yeah, no, I got some ideas for you.
Okay.
We'll talk about it on off camera and stuff like that. But I think there is a way to even have fun with that part of it.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say now.
Okay.
But like there's a way because I think like I've seen the connection and the really like the vibe that you all put off.
Yeah.
Is a fun vibe.
Yeah, my channel's all about family. Like everybody knows that.
And so there's ways to play around with the awkwardness that allows us to, it's totally relatable. Yeah. Right? Like if I went and said, Mom, I want to do a podcast with you, sit down and talk with me, she's gonna be like, what are we gonna talk about? Right? Mom, you've known me my entire life. We're gonna talk about me, of course. Right? She's like, oh, okay, right? Like because there is that still awkwardness again of sitting in front of a camera or, you know, having eyeballs on you that you don't even know is there yet.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think there's some things that you can have fun with. I think would be great. That's funny though. Like I think a lot of people have that experience, you know, with the awkwardness of filming for sure.
Quick tangent.
Go for it.
The people that are listening, that are watching, understand that sometimes your friends or your family, they just don't believe in you just yet. And that's okay. But when they do, really buy into them believing you and their support and don't push them away. Like allow them to be a part of your stuff. It doesn't always have to be about you. It's always not the thing. Like incorporate that because it makes you more relatable. And sometimes people don't have that support in their own life and they look up to that. And then you can be the example for them to then go what? Change their new cycle and their generations that come next in their lives and give them an example of something that's like, oh, I don't have a family with both parents in the home. Well, I'm like, man, this is an honor. This is a blessing. Like, let me incorporate my parents into my videos. Let me incorporate the stuff that's going on. Share these moments, enjoy it, and then really, you know, just take advantage of that because a lot of people don't. They always want to be like, oh, it's my stuff. I got to do this thing. Like, nah, it's okay.
And Ed Millett talked about it at this past WellCon on stage, and he also talked about it in Ryan's podcast. He talked about how a family hasn't always been wealthy or hasn't always been happy, hasn't always been healthy. Right? He goes, but the one came along. Right? And he was like, I'm the one from my family. And that hit me because I was like, yeah, man, like you're talking about generational curses on people's families that can be broken with just a decision that you make. Right? So that like my sons are going to have no fear of the camera. right? Like my 6-year-old is probably at home right now, down on one knee with my old Canon camera, shooting his little brother, right? He has no fear of it because he's growing up in it, right? And it just proves like you can make a decision, right? Like he's watching what dad is doing and he's like, Dad, that's cool, right? He loves YouTube. So he's like, man, y'all are actually, like, they don't even know what to tell people I do, right? He did at his school, they did career day.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, what are you about to tell them? And he was like, I'm going to tell them you're a YouTuber. I'm like, son, I'm not a YouTuber, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I had to give him what to say because of such a new, it's new space, right? Like, it's a new role. But I say all that to say, like, it's very important to be the one. Like what you're talking about is being the one for the family, right? And so your content kind of, it exudes that as you watch it. Like, yeah, like this dude not only loves his family, he loves the community that he's in, he loves the content that he's creating. And that reads through to people. It allows people to connect to it. And then your audience just continues to grow and grow and grow. The community gets bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger. No matter what you do next, it's going to be supported by those individuals that are already bought in. We call them, like we talk about the progression to a super fan, right? And it starts short form content, right? Because I can get you for 30 seconds. You might like it, you might not. The long form content is what really gets you, right? If you spend hours with me, I'm going to convert you, right? Like in some way, right? At some point, you're going to be a real fan of mine. You're going to come back and watch the next video, blah, blah, blah. Then you got the super fan coming from that, all right? It's now, I see you on my stories. I see you in my reels. I see you in YouTube long form. I'm all in, right? I'm coming to the event. I'm coming to support, or I'm buying your product. I'm buying whatever it is, right? Like, so we talk about that, but that progression is real, all right? And you're a witness to it, like you're seeing it. So it's awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy looking at analytics and seeing short form. Like, oh, I get more views than my long form. Yeah, but I get more subscribers from my long form than I do from my short form. And it's like, that's where you can see the impact of that too. Like, these people are really connecting. They're hitting that subscribe button. They're hitting that follow button. That's what's making them truly convert to that next phase of your audience.
For sure. Tell me one thing. What was the point that you realized, all right, I'm having real success?
Oh, man.
Or share a successful story, maybe. Like, you was like, oh, man, like, I've been modeling my career after this person, or I've been doing these things. This is an individual that I had to meet, and now that I'm shaking hands and he knows, like, those are all things that I'm looking like, like, you can tell when you have kind of a ride to a certain place where people get to, people are aware of what's going on.
So I'm in like a different boat because I definitely put a lot of pressure, stress, and all the other things. It's like, oh, you shouldn't be doing to yourself. Those are the things I put because I'm going to be straight honest with you. I know I'm going to be here. This is where I'm supposed to be. Like, I talk to God about it every night. And he got me on the right path, and I'm not complaining. I'm excited for the bad days. I'm looking for all of it because he put it in front of me for those reasons. So I know I got to go through this to get to the next thing.
No, that's
and
good.
If I keep pushing towards that vision. So when I get in those rooms, when I get in front of those people, I already envisioned it, just like playing football. I ran them routes in my head. So when I go score that touchdown on Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, I already did that.
Muscle
I know
memory.
it. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I'm like, I'm still working. It's a part of the process. I don't know about... Everybody measures their success differently. I think the biggest thing for me, for happiness of my success was, again, the impact. When I went to those events and I seen all those people, that was like, this is really working. I'm seeing it. It's different from digital to physical. When you come up to people, when I go anywhere, when I go to a restaurant, when I go to places, especially if I go to a sneaker store, any sneakers, I've never been to a sneaker store now without some employee or some shopper knowing who I am in any city. So that's cool. But I think really when I hear that story, that's the part that's like, yo, this is dope. Like I really am helping people. That's success to me. And then, obviously I've been making money for a while from social media. So that's great and all, but that's still up and down. We know that. So
absolutely
trying to create the consistency. I'm happy with that, but I just like helping the people, bro. That's the biggest thing.
No, absolutely, man. I'm excited. I can't wait to see where it goes. I'm excited for our friendship. I can't wait to see where our friendship grows to and what happens in our future because I can tell it's up, bro. Like it's up.
Right. Yeah, I feel the same way.
But so tell people where they can find you and what you got going on next.
DJ Sneakerhead or DNA Show. On YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I started Snapchat.
Let's go.
I'm active on Snapchat. So I'm on all those platforms. I have a product that teaches everybody about the hobby to hustle is what my course is called. 6-figure sneakerheads. I want to be able to make it more realistic. I know the second 7-figure thing isn't really just ready for a sneakerhead yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, let's create something for somebody to really create, $100,000, $200,000 sneaker collection and use that for leverage to buy real houses and stuff. So
Awesome.
if you want to put that in the, comment section or in the description,
sure.
we'll give them a discount or something, whatever we need to do.
Yeah, it's all gonna be down there. It's all gonna be in the description.
So all that stuff on the internet, I'm pretty much everywhere. You look up shoes, you might find me.
All right, it's been another episode of Wealthy Creator. I'm your host, Justin. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I'll check you out on the next one.